Welcome to another episode of Unlocking the Mind Behind Make More Work Less. Hi, my name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also a best-selling author. Every single day, I have the opportunity to help others unlock the potentials and guide them to succeed. So for today's episode on Unlocking the Mind Behind Make More Work Less, where we talk about different psychology terms, different effects and biases that affects how us as humans make decisions or how we react to certain things, how we can do better in building relationships, how we could do business better, because it all has to do with the mind. And as we know more about these biases and more of these effects, then we're able to either avoid it or use it to our advantage. So to introduce our new topic for today, I'm going to ask you all to stare at this little guy right here. Stare at it for 5 seconds and I will tell you what I think you are. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I'm going to tell you 5 things that I believe you are. If you can jot down on a piece of paper and say whether it's true or false, and then this is who I think you are. So the first thing I think you are is you're a person who has considerable amount of unused capacity that you have not yet turned into your advantage. Again, you are somebody who has a lot of capacity, but you have not turned it into your advantage. Number 2, sometimes you have serious doubts whether you have made the right decisions or have done the right thing. Number 2, sometimes you think about whether or not you have doubts on doing the right thing or making the right decisions. Number 3, deep down, you know your self-worth, but you have a tendency to be too critical of yourself. So number 3, deep down, you know your self-worth, but you have a tendency to be very critical of yourself. Number 4, you have often had great ideas that you just have never had the motivation to follow through on. Number 4, you always had great ideas, but you just never had the motivation to move forward on them. And number 5, you are a very independent thinker. You like to check out claims for yourself before you believe what somebody else tells you. So again, number 5, you are an independent thinker. You would like to check out the claims before you believe somebody else's comments or their stories or what they tell you. So out of the 5, how many of those are true? 2, 3, 4, all 5? Well, that's exactly what happens when it comes to the Barnum Effect. And it's also known as the Fong effect. And this is the tendency for people to accept generalized personality descriptions as accurate descriptions of their own unique personality. So this is the whole reason why fortune tellers and fortune cookies and astrology and horoscopes work so well, because they're able to give you something general. They're able to give something that's vague and something that is very desirable. And people go, you know what, that relates to me, that's who I am. And the beauty about how this stuff works is the fact that it's always vague, it's a characteristic or a quality that people desire, and it's also true. Now, when you have something that you feel is true to yourself and you hear it, you go, oh yeah, that's me for sure. And this is all about the Barnum Effect. That's why certain things work the way they work, because people say certain things. And you go, you know what, that's me, I could relate to that, and therefore I can trust this person, I can make a decision and all that kind of stuff. But now that we know that the Barnum Effect is in play, a lot of situations you may have to take a step back and consider maybe this is just an overall generalized statement. Now, in the past, there's been some studies done on this effect. And Professor Fong has done this test with 39 different people. And he passed out these personality tests and go, okay, after you fill out these personality tests, give me a week. I'm going to come up with 13 statements that will be true to you, uniquely to your personality. So sure enough, the 39 students went in and filled up the personality test and he handed it in. A week later, he gave each one an individual envelope and each one has 13 statements in it. And after that test, they go, okay, out of a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being very agreed and very true, how many of you believe that the personality statement that I wrote for you all those 13 statements, is true to you? And almost everybody put their hands up. In fact, on average, there was a score of 4.26 out of 5 of how accurate that test was. And then they go, well, how accurate those statements were of that person. And then the question was, Out of a scale of 1 to 5, how many believe that personality test has really been very effective on deciding who they are and what their characteristics are like? And again, on average, there was a 4.31 out of 5 of how accurate that test actually was. Well, the professor put forward actually took a whole bunch of 13 statements from astrology from an astrology prediction booth at the newsstand and just gave the same one to every single person. So how does this work? Everybody agreed that those 13 statements actually was true to them. In fact, on average, 10.2 out of the 13 statements, they all said was true. And that's again, because it's vague, desirable qualities, and it's true to them. Now, when we talk about how vague it is and how it has to be a desirable quality, because we generally like to gravitate to something that was said about us that's either neutral or positive. Think about this statement. If I said to you, you are a bad listener, which leads to people avoiding you during times of decision making. Now, would you say that's true to you? Probably not, because that's a negative connotation, a negative statement. But what if I said, you are an independent thinker that follows their own path, which makes you misunderstood by others? Well, now it sounds like you're a leader. But technically, if you look at those two statements at the same time, they're exactly the same thing. So how the Barnum effect works is they take negative statements or generalized statements and make it positive, put a positive spin to it so that it relates to everybody. So how do we kind of avoid falling into this trap? Because lots of people will go to the horoscope or go look at their astrology sign and go, you know what? If this is true, then I might make this big decision on buying a property, or I might make this big decision about hiring a consultant or jumping into this investment strategy because my horoscope says it's going to be good. Or maybe I need to jump into this relationship because my horoscope says that it's good. Well, the thing is, we can't take these generalized statements and these horoscope statements or this Barnum effect and go make big decisions on it. So how do we avoid it? Well, sometimes we just have to take a step back and ask ourselves, take the personality out of it. If this statement was repeated to multiple people, would multiple people think about the same thing? So sometimes you may have to think about this on the split second or on the spot, but just remove your personality out of it and say, hey, does this apply to anybody else or does it apply just to me? If you're able to do that, then you're able to make a better decision. Now, the thing is, once you separate yourself from it, you can see it from a different perspective and see how the Barnum effect is actually in play. So that's how the Barnum effect works, and that's how we can avoid doing it. Now, how do we take this into a benefit for us? Well, as entrepreneurs, as business people, and people who wants to build relationships and get engagement with the audience, if you use the Barnum effect, you can get more people to relate to you. You can get more people to be more engaged into your presentation if you are able to use these statements from a generalization standpoint and get people to be more engaged and more relatable to you so that your message could get across. And that is a benefit to you by using this effect. But in general, try not to use this for bad, obviously, and avoid it at all costs if you're about to make a big decision. So that is the Barnum effect. Until next time, today is the day to unlock your potential. I'll see you later.